Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Well, this is exactly how I always envisioned my first service. Okay, that's not true. But what is true is that my official first day was Wednesday, and I went into the village temple for the day. I sat silently in the sanctuary for several minutes, just taking it all in. I wanted to sit on the floor with your children and teach them Hine Ma Tov for the first time. I wanted to speak to a room filled with people that was exploding with energy. I imagined I would see someone coming into the sanctuary alone and approach them and welcome them and say Shabbat Shalom. Being a rabbi is about all of those in-between moments. It's about catching you on the way out of a meeting and asking about your loved ones. How are your parents feeling? How are your children doing? Being a rabbi means hugging people tightly when they've experienced a loss and high-fiving teens as they become bar and bat mitzvah. So no, I did not imagine that my first service would be on Zoom. Bible scholars say that reading a text in translation is like kissing through a veil. If the simple act of translating a text is like kissing through a veil, then what would you call praying through a screen? I don't even know. But I do know this. Tonight, I am honored and filled with joy. I have looked forward to this moment, to this opportunity, for days and weeks and months and even years. I feel I am put on this earth to serve the Jewish people. It is my passion and my obligation and my privilege and my pleasure. I've moved countries, learned new languages, studied, programmed, traveled, taught, counseled, made mistakes, and had successes as well. And every single moment has been worth it because of right now, because I am here with all of you. They say interviewing for a rabbinic role is like dating. When you find the right match, you don't look any farther. For me, Village Temple was that natural fit. You showed yourselves to be sophisticated, intellectual, non-pretentious, kind, and community-oriented people. You asked piercing but compassionate questions. You cared about those more vulnerable than you. You created opportunities for your children and your teens and yourself to live Jewishly. And honestly, you just seemed very villagey. As someone that lives uptown, I'm going to have to work really hard to try and pretend that I am as cool as you are. We are living in a time of profound strangeness. I never imagined myself writing my first sermon for the Village Temple while sitting on the floor of my bathroom in a sweatshirt with my hair in a ponytail. But alas, all of the other rooms in my apartment were occupied, so I did just that. And I'm sure you've made similar concessions just to live what was your normal life. But this is not normal. We live in a time where we've missed weddings and bar mitzvahs and graduations and birthdays and hugs and high fives, where words like Zoom and FaceTime are a major part of our lexicon, where our beloved city itself became sick, vanishing before our eyes as restaurants and cultural centers and offices and schools and friends shuttered their doors. What even is Washington Square Park if it's not packed with people? If the quad is not showing a movie, is it still a cinema? What even is a congregation if we cannot congregate? It seems to me that this cruel virus and the precautions we must take to defeat it are trying to chip away at the very nature of the human condition. Connection, togetherness, community, that's what human beings are. And that's where I'll focus my thoughts tonight. So I want to tell you a story. My friend's daughter is 9 years old and she goes to a socially distant day camp. They wear masks, they stand apart from each other, they wash their hands several times a day. This 9-year-old has a friend who's in another bunk at the same camp. these two children covertly coordinate times to go to the bathroom, and they meet up throughout the day. They go into the same stall together and they lock their door. And you know what they do? They hug. They embrace. In a tiny stall, these two tweens perform one of the most basic acts of humankind. It's a heartbreaking expression of humanity and tenderness and longing. It's a reflection of the weight of prolonged separation that burdens us all. The trauma of human distancing is something that the Torah fundamentally understands. In the very first Torah portion of the whole Torah, God sees Adam alone in the garden and says, Lo tov hehiyot ha'adam levado. It is not good for man to be alone. The first thing God ever labels as lo tov, as not good, in the history of humanity is human isolation. Togetherness is at the heart of Judaism. There is a reason we need 10 people together to say certain prayers. There is a reason communal singing is a prime expression of our identity. There is a reason that when a loved one dies, we gather not for one night of Shiva, but for 7 nights. There is a reason why Jewish summer camp matters and why religious school makes sense. The reason is what God said. It is not good for humans to be alone. Coming together is how we express our humanity, and it's also how we express our Judaism. We need each other to exist, and Judaism needs us in the exact same way. I'll remind you of one more story that you probably know. It's about Jacob. Jacob is on the run, as per usual. He's fleeing from his family of origin after stealing the birthright from his brother Esau. He comes to a certain place in the wilderness. He puts his head down on a rock to sleep for the night. He is alone, both literally and figuratively. His family of origin is no longer a safe place for him, and his future family is not yet formed. In this state of isolation, he dreams a dream where heavenly angels go up and down on a ladder. God comes to Jacob in the dream, comforting him, telling him his future will be plentiful. He will have a home and land and people. Like a parent soothing a worried child, God tells Jacob, I will watch over you. Wherever you go, I will not let go of you. Wouldn't we all like to hear those words and believe them right about now? Waking up from his sleep, Jacob exclaims, Yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo yadati. Truly, God was in this place, and I did not know it. That is our challenge. That is our spiritual obligation right now. Can we find God in the midst of it all? Can we allow for spirituality and relationship even through the veil of isolation and separation? I believe we can. If Jacob can find connection alone in the desert with his head on a rock, we can find it on this screen. Together, we will go on the journey of uncovering the places where God is. Remember, from the depths of isolation, Adam received eternal companionship with Eve. From isolation, Jonah received prophecy. From isolation, Jacob received divine relationship and personal confidence. We too will emerge from the narrows of loneliness. We will force ourselves to be creative, to be optimistic, to have hope and resolve. We will be strong for our children and reassuring for our parents. We will laugh together and sing together and learn together. And when we get to be together in person, like the Israelites that crossed to the other side of the Red Sea, we will relish those reunions and rejoice like never before. The village temple will be a congregation that will one day congregate again. For now, together, we will find God in places where we did not know it. Thank you profoundly for the chance for me to be on that journey with you. It's a great honor for me. King Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.